Before we begin, I want to welcome you not to this podcast, but to a space that was built from truth, from survival, and from quiet power of speaking that what once felt unspeakable. This isn't just another show, this is a sanctuary, a place where real people share raw stories, where pain is honored, not hidden, where healing is messy, brave, and absolutely possible. Thank you for coming into the live. Every voice you'll hear in this podcast carries its own storm. Some are still in the rain, some have found the sun, and all are here because they chose courage over silence. This space was created to remind you that vulnerability is not a weakness, it is strength. That your story matters, even if it still trembles when told. And the one voice, yours, mine, and ours, can speak, change, inspire healing, and shift the silence. So wherever you are right now, driving, walking, or crying, or just breathing, I invite you to listen to an open heart. Take what you need, leave what you don't, but know this, you are never alone. So let's begin. Hello, Wilmer. How are you? Thank you for coming in. Shayla, let's bring her up. We are saving questions till the end. All right. Let's get her up here.
Give me just 1 second. I'm trying to get my chair in here.
You're fine. Doing okay today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Uh-oh, I got a kid coming in here. 1 second. What the heck? All right, there we go. How you doing?
Doing good. Yourself?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, my lights are already on, and those are my rare after dark lights. So I need to change those too. There we go. Oh, look, I didn't even plug in my other lights. I'm all kinds of backwards today.
Yeah, I am too.
Well, I've been prepared. I've been prepared for this, but I've had a lot of stuff to do today. I'm gonna before we get started, I'm gonna black out the screen.
Okay.
It'll just show you on the screen, and then that, which is what I go for, and I know where to break when it's time for me to edit.
Okay.
It's not bleeding, I promise. All right. Welcome to the Power of One Voice, where brave souls step forward to turn their pain into power and their scars into testimonies of survival. Today's story is one of the raw resilience. My guest has walked through some of life's darkest valleys, surviving rape, drug trafficking, addiction, broken relationship, and alcoholism. She endured 4 months of hell battling false allegations in court, a trial that threatened to strip away her peace and her dignity. But through it all, she found her way back to God, to self-worth, and to a place where she can say, I am worthy. I matter and I am loved. I am blessed. God's words are truth. This episode is about healing faith and the courage to stand in authenticity. Because her story can save or inspire even one person, then it's worth telling. Welcome in, Shayla. Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Okay. So, can you take us back to the earliest moment when your pain first began?
Um, a baby. The first memory that I can really remember having was speaking to a police officer about a situation that had happened to me with an older cousin of mine. I believe I was like, I really have to be mindful of the words that I use on here. So I'm
No, you don't have to be, but I can. You're breaking up. I can hardly hear you.
can you hear me better?
Yes.
Need to speak up a little bit. I'm soft spoken. um, so the earliest bad memory I can remember, I was about two. It was speaking with a police officer. My uncle and aunt was babysitting my sister, my brother, and myself. And my older cousin had molested me with a butter knife. Um, through that trauma and that experience, I was told my entire life I would never be able to have children because of the amount of scar tissue that there was. When I was 19, I found out I was pregnant for my daughter, which was a whirlwind of emotions because I never thought I can have kids. Um, so that was my first bad memory I can remember.
How did the rape shape the way that you saw yourself and the world around you?
I didn't trust anybody. I didn't trust anybody. It was, family that hurt me. And my mom fought to try to make sure I knew my entire life that it wasn't my fault. And I never did blame myself for what had happened to me. Um, but it made me put up a wall that I wish I never was forced to have to put up.
Okay. Um, what role did shame play in your silence during those times?
What role did what play?
Shame.
Shame. I'm not sure how to answer that question.
Okay. Do you feel like your voice was taken from you before you even had a chance to use it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, besides that experience, just the lifestyle I grew up in, the way my dad, raised us was kids weren't spoken unless spoken to. Kids weren't seen unless,
Hmm.
told to be seen. So I definitely did not have a voice. And when I got to the age where I found my voice, I was very adamant about using it.
Okay. Um, when did drugs first enter your life, and what void were you trying to fill?
The first time I ever used drugs, I was 10 years old.
Oh my.
Void that I was trying to fill with it was to numb what was going on with me and to me in my everyday life. Um,
Do you want to elaborate on what was going on with you?
yeah, um, I'm sorry. This is kind of even through years of therapy. Some of this brings up emotions that are.
Whenever you need to take a break, just let me know.
I will. So early on in life, we were no strangers as children to the drug trafficking and the illegal things that was going on in and out of our home, the places that we were bringing drug to as children by our father that was drug related. I've been around some really bad people that were predators to children. Um, Multiple times I was raped by friends of my father's, and I was always told I was a liar or I needed to keep my mouth shut. Um, and that was at a very young age, and that's when the drug use started. Um, but then after My sister got married and moved out, and my brother took to the streets and moved out. It was me and my baby brother, and I had to be his protector. I didn't want him to go through and see and experience the things we went through. So at 12 years old, I became a full time mom to my baby brother. My dad was doing things he shouldn't have been doing, and my stepmom was a raging alcoholic and a drug addict herself.
So how did the drug trafficking and addiction begin? Like, how did it begin in your life?
The addiction began for me, like I said, at a young age. That was to suppress the emotions and the feelings that I wasn't allowed to have a voice on. I wasn't allowed to talk to people about multiple times. I reached out to, people at school trying to get help, and all it did was end me back up in my dad's house with, abuse and just more harm. So I eventually got to the point where I stopped trying to speak up and just endured it and used the suppress those emotions and those feelings to numb the pain. The drug trafficking started when I was 11. Was the first time my dad had me do a drug run for him.
Mm.
Um, I was unaware at that moment what I was doing. I was just handed a bag and was told to bring it to this person, and then they were going to give me some money, and I'll come back with that. I did not know what was in the bag, and I was terrified of my dad. I definitely wasn't about to peek and find out. It wasn't until about 6 months later, after consistently having to do this, I finally found out what I was doing.
Wow. And how long did that go on?
Until I was 15 years old, and my dad and I, my dad had arranged for me to go on a date with an older guy. I was 15, the guy was 21. Um, we dated for a while, and my dad had got mad because I was babysitting my neighbor's kids, and the guy had came over and hung out with me. My dad was fine with that. We were right next door. Then the sister and the brother of the people's children I was babysitting, they showed up with their spouses, and everybody started drinking. Well, the guy I was dating, he was drunk, and I wouldn't let him drive. So I asked my stepbrother to go and let my dad know. Well, my stepbrother got drunk and passed out and never went and told my dad. So when I went home the next day, the minute I walked through the door, I was punched. And when I came to, my dad was on top of me with his knee in my chest, calling me god awful names. And I really didn't know what was happening or why. Um, One thing led to another. Cops were called. My dad was arrested. My sister got custody.
I'm sorry, you cut out. Your sister what?
My sister had gotten custody of me at that point.
Okay. How long were you with her?
I was only with her for a couple of months, actually. Um, I ended up moving to Kentucky, Louisiana. Not long after she got custody of me, I came up here to be with my maternal grandparents.
And then, when did alcoholism show up in your life, and what impact did it have on your relationships?
Alcoholism actually showed up a little later. I was about 24 years old when I became a full blown alcoholic. It happened after my first divorce. I started partying a lot. Um, and then I noticed myself just drinking more and more and more. And the effects that it took on my relationships was I just really had a I don't give a fuck attitude. So I wasn't giving my full self into relationships.
Right.
And that really did make a big impact.
What did unhealthy or toxic relationships teach you about yourself at the time?
That I'm worthy no matter what they say. no matter how they try to make me feel or bring me down, no matter how they try to use my past against me to hurt me, it taught me that I'm worthy no matter what. And I'm loved by somebody greater than anybody of this earth.
Um, was there ever a time that you thought you wouldn't survive to see another day?
There's been times, yeah.
I can't hear you.
I said there's been times, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about those times?
One of those times was I was in my full blown alcoholism, and my daughter's father and I had gotten a phone call. He was in a relationship with this girl who just from the beginning absolutely hated me. Never even spoke to me, but hated me. But her father and I had gotten a phone call from the counselor at our daughter's school. We were asked to go up there so she can just let us know the things that was brought to her attention and to figure out the next steps of what to do. So we went up there. She had told us one, that my daughter had told a friend that an older guy had touched her inappropriately on her leg, which made her feel uncomfortable. And the other thing was that she had told her friend how at the time the guy that I was with had a young son and he was only 3 years old. And this did happen. He had gotten out of the bathtub one night and he took off running down the hallway and ran and just jumped on my daughter while she was on the couch and he was butt naked. He had just gotten out of the tub. So the counselor had told us those things. She told us that she talked with a friend and she talked with our daughter. She told us that the whole thing about the little boy, they didn't think that was very concerning. Because I told them, yeah, that did happen. His dad corrected him, let him know that that's not okay. So
Right.
forth. And she said they got down to the bottom of the hole, touching inappropriately on the leg. It was a little boy at the school had went to swing at her, and when he did, he touched her. I'm doing a podcast. Sorry about that.
Okay. I got four of them running around here, so I get it.
But so she told us that the things that are going on with our daughter, she wanted us to get her into out of school therapy.
Out of
So
school, what? Therapy?
out of school therapy.
Okay.
That was the whole purpose of us coming in, was for us to sit down, look over therapists that they recommended in the town, and come to an agreement to get her started on therapy. Well, um, later that week, I was supposed to be picking my daughter up from her father for my timeshare because we had 50-50 custody. And I had told her father prior to, I had a dog I had for 15 years. His organs were starting to fail, and I had him scheduled to euthanize.
Hmm.
I wanted my daughter to be there because she grew up with this dog. I had him before she was even born. So I had told her dad prior to, like, can you please make sure y'all prompt, y'all are on time because we have to go here, pick him up, and then drive here, make it by the appointment time, so on and so forth. Well, the day that I was supposed to get her, he had called me while I was at work, and he had told me that he was having car issues. He needed me to come to his house there in, well, he needed me to go to his house. And I was like, okay, well, she needs to be ready to jump in the car and go because now this is putting me on a really, strict time frame.
Right.
So I get there and he comes outside and he is like, I'm so sorry. I said, what are you talking about? He said that he had allowed our daughter to go with his mother to the store because she had been asking for copies, and he figured they would be back by that time.
Hmm.
He said, let me go in and call her real quick and find out what's going on and how long they're going to be. Well, of course, I'm irritated, and that frustration's coming through. And I'm a full blown alcoholic, mind you.
Right.
So he comes back outside. He's like, they're right up the road. Just give it a minute. I was like, David, this is ridiculous. So I was turning to get in my car to sit and wait, and this police officer pulls up, and he gets out of the vehicle and he approaches my daughter's father, and he was like, who is it that needs to be served? And he pointed at me. And I'm confused. Like, what is going on here? I have no clue. Why am I being served? So the officer asked me to sit in my vehicle because he can tell I was really irritated and emotional. He said, just take a seat in your vehicle, put your window down, let me explain to you what this EPO is about. So the more he started talking, the more numb I went, and like the less I heard the words that he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
So he served me and everything. They finally okayed me to leave. I drove a little ways up the road and I parked on the side of the road and I was bawling my eyes out and I started vomiting and I just, there was all this, I did not know what was going on. So I called my sister and her and the guy that I was with came and met me and picked me up because I couldn't even drive. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I just a phone call came through. I just hit the button.
No, you're fine.
But you can keep talking. I hear kids crying outside, so I need you to just keep talking.
Okay. So they came and they picked me up and everything. And the thing of the EPO, what was stated in it was that I was being accused of allowing the guy that I was with to sexually assault my daughter. But the EPO was against me, not him. It was just against me. So I had spoke with an attorney. You're fine. I had spoke with an attorney to find out like where this goes from here. Um, and that was just 4 months of hell. They made my daughter do a rape kit, which she should have never had to do at that age. They had her do bone density tests because the EPO of allegations of allowing somebody to sexually assault her then turned into a DVO against me. So that that really full blown kicked my alcoholism into full gear.
She's fine. I hope you know. She's fine. I'm listening. She's fine.
We're fine.
Sorry about that. The kids interrupt. Hi, Sonny boy. Thank you for coming in. Okay. So tell us about the 4 months of hell that you faced in court.
The first time I went to court, I wasn't even allowed to speak. The judge would not hear anything I had to say. She went ahead and she set up for a pretrial. When we went to pretrial, she had told dad, like she had asked dad, what steps they were taking, what tests that they were doing, so on and so forth. And she told dad that all of that needed to be done and cleared out before we went to trial. Trial was on my birthday, and during that time frame, so all of this started in September. Trial finally came in November. Um, During that time frame,
Thank you, Sonny.
I couldn't have any contact with my kid whatsoever, and that killed me because from the day she was born up until that moment, there was not a single day she did not see me and I did not see her. Even through the divorce and the custody, like we're seeing each other every single day, even if it was just FaceTime.
Right.
So trial finally came, and Dad had told the judge that the last test, which was the bone density test that they had done on my daughter to see if she ever had like any broken bones or anything like that, hadn't came through yet. So the judge had to schedule another court date, which was 3 months out from the trial date, to give time for that to come through for her to make her actual judgment before allowing me to either see my kid or to take her from me completely. Um, the hardest thing I think a parent can ever go through is to know that they're innocent and the allegations being made against them are false. to know that your child is being threatened and told that if she doesn't say these things to the judge that she was going to get her ass beat, or I can imagine the things he told her because the things he told me in our marriage. But to sit there and listen to my daughter say the things that she said about me, and when the judge asked her if she would like to come out and see me, her response was, I'm scared she'll kill me.
My.
That is a pain that I think nobody could ever understand.
Do you want to take a break? Just go on the break. Just go on teacup for a second. Thank you everybody for coming in, and I do apologize for the interruption with my grandkids. Um, yeah, give me 1 second. I gotta respond to this text message. They've been called me 4 times. Sorry. Yes, I know. You okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it doesn't matter how much time goes by or how much therapy you go through. It's a pain that is unbearable.
Yeah, I, I know. And I mean, when I say I know, I really know. I've been through something similar with my youngest daughter. Um, so I do know that hurt.
Well,
Yeah.
outside of all of that, I think what hurt more was when I finally got to get her back. I was scared of her. I was scared of my 9-year-old daughter. I was terrified that if I dressed the wrong way, if I said the wrong thing, if I allowed, somebody to say something out of line to her, like anything can happen and I would go through all of this again.
Yeah.
But it also gave me a sense of strength at the same time. And I say that because I made it very clear to her and her father, probably about 2 months after she was back home, that before I would ever allow him or her to put me through that kind of hurt or pain again out of spite or hatred or pettiness, I would willingly sign custody over because I did not deserve that. She did not deserve that. And our relationship has never been the same because of that.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, so I'm gonna assume that that was like your lowest point in that whole process.
Most definitely.
How did faith begin to re-enter your life during that battle?
Um, so, and I got my daughter back in February of that year. This was in 2021. Um, in May, I was going through a breast cancer scare. I had been going back and forth to the doctors since 2017. I am riddled with abnormalities in both of my breasts. And every 6 months, we would have to do mammograms and biopsies and all the good stuff just to make sure. Because I'm high risk for breast cancer. My mom was diagnosed with it when she was 31 years old.
I know
Uh,
that kid too.
so the way faith came back in was I had went to my doctor and they had biopsied a lump on my right breast. I went for a 3-month checkup to, make sure it was healing, everything was okay. And they went ahead and they done an ultrasound. Well, that lump that they had biopsied had went from the size of a quarter to the size of my fist. So
Mm.
they said, we want to do an emergency surgery. We need to get this out. We need to do further testing on it, make sure, everything's okay. I was terrified. Like, I had never in my entire life had any kind of traumatic surgeries or anything like that up to that point. So I
Mhm.
was terrified. Um, My drinking was really, really, really full force. I was waking up drinking all day long, drinking until I passed out and wake up and do it all over again. Um, and when they started sending me packets for the Marquis Cancer Center and telling me that I had to go to, I don't know the actual names of the doctors. I call them the vampire doctors. They're the blood specialists because,
What are phlebotomist?
yeah,
Phlebotomist. I think that's how you say that.
I
Phlebotomist.
had to go to them because my white blood cell count was so high. Uh,
Mm.
so I'm freaking out and I'm sitting in my bed, drinking a bottle, taking it to the head, and my sister sends me a video and she says, "You don't have to watch the whole thing, but I need you to watch for at this point to this point." So I
Yeah.
went to watch the video, and it was a pastor who they were doing a revival. I'll never forget, it was a Saturday. They were doing a revival, and the pastor had came out when he started his sermon, and he said, "Guys, I just got to be honest with you all. I was in prayer all night and all morning." He said, and God just kept putting on my heart, heavy on my heart, the women in Kentucky that are battling with issues with their breasts. He said, and I wasn't going to speak on this. He said, but as I walked into this room this morning, it's so heavy on me. And he said, I want y'all to know y'all are not alone. God sees you all. So whatever it is you're going through with your breasts, just reach out to him. He hears you. Well, it's a Pentecostal church. So he started praying in tongues and he kept calling out my name. I never met this man a day in my life. I had never been to this church, never knew anything about any of them.
Well, while I'm waiting and she's on teacup, she's going to come back and answer. And I'm going to run to the bathroom. I'm so sorry. First day back for a podcast. I need to get it together.
I'm sorry about that. I had a call come in and it wouldn't let me decline it.
You can just continue.
But he kept calling my name out as he was praying in tongue. So after I watched it, I called my sister and I said, "Well, it's revival weekend. They have another service at 7 o'clock tonight. I have to go. I have to go and talk to this pastor and tell him that's me. He was calling out to me." So she wanted to go with me. My brother-in-law, my sister, and myself, we all went. Sat through the whole service and everything. And at the end of it, thank you, Sonny Boy. It has. That this has been a few years now. But at the end of all of it, they had done an altar call, and I went up to the altar, and the lady that I had went up to, who was part of the prayer team, she had asked me what I needed prayers for, and I just started crying, and I told her that pastor over there was calling my name out this morning. So she said, "Give me 1 minute." She went and got them, and they came over. And I told them, the things that were going on and the fact that this was a Saturday. I was scheduled for surgery on that following Tuesday. So they asked if they can lay hands and pray over me and everything. And I said, of course. Well, I went to church the next Sunday. I went to church that Sunday night. Monday came around, they did Monday night dinners. They fed the community, and it was part of for the members to come and kind of like fellowship with each other. So I went that Monday night, talked with people. People prayed over me even more. So that Tuesday, I go in for surgery, and before I went under, the lump, the last that we knew, was the size of my fist. I go under, they remove the lump, I come back out, and my doctor has like this shit eating grin on her face. And I'm just kind of confused, like, why are you so happy right now? So she looked at me and she said, I have a question for you. Would you like to see the mask that we removed? And at first I was kind of hesitant, and she said, no, like, I think you want to see it. That's why I saved it. And I was like, yeah, sure, show me. Well, this lump that went from a quarter size to the size of my fist, just in a couple weeks, shrunk back down to the size of a quarter. Yeah. Yeah. And that right there, I don't care what anybody calls it, wishful thinking, good luck. I call that God. And that's where my walk back into salvation came into play. I had stopped drinking. I had stopped smoking. I stopped doing everything. I was going to church regularly. I became a full blown member of the church. I started joining into ministries, and I was baptized in the river. So
Nice. Nice. Um, so how has your relationship with God changed since then?
me with God,
Mm-hmm.
that was your okay. Since then, my faith is strong. It's never wavered. That is something prior to, because I had been in and out of church my entire life. So I was no stranger to Christ. But in the beginning, it was really difficult walking through deliverance, facing, my own demons, because as people, we have a hard time taking accountability and want to blame everyone and everything else for our own shit. So the beginning was really, really, really hard. It was hard for me to stick with it, but I was pushed so much because I'm like, what other explanation do you have for what you just went through, what you just overcome, the statistics of everything? How can you not believe in God after that? So that at the beginning was very hard. Today, I can sit here and honestly say I'm not perfect. I'm a born again Christian, which means I'm flawed, which means I still fall short, which means I still struggle, which means every day I open my eyes, not only do I have to give gratitude to God, but I have to surrender my life to Him. And that also means every single night when I lay my head down and say my prayers, I have to repent.
Okay. Having just a little bit of trouble hearing you. It sounds like you're talking in a tube.
Is that better? I think my finger was over my mic.
That's way better. So when you say God's words are truth, what scripture or promise carried you the most?
There's so many of them that resonate so deeply with me. Um, but I do have one highlighted in my Bible right here. Let me get to it. This one is from Psalms chapter 9. It's verse 1. It's, I will praise you, Lord, with all my heart. I will tell of all the marvelous things you have done for me. That one that one resonates, I think, the most with me because through everything I've walked through, losing both of my parents, the things I went through as a child, the things that I overcome that I didn't think I would make it out of,
Right.
the the bad marriage I was in, all of that, the marvelous things He has done for me is why I'm having this conversation with you today.
And how did you learn to allow yourself to go through the emotions instead of avoiding them?
When I stopped using, when I stopped drinking, when I stopped smoking, when I stopped suppressing myself, that kind of full forcefully pushed me to live through and feel every emotion instead of ignoring them. But being in church and being around the people that are there, and the constant talks of life into me when I was being so down on myself from the things I've done in my past, I would say that.
Okay. What does surrender mean to you now compared to before?
Surrender means to fully submit myself to Him, to know that I am still human. He made us human, and He made us with self will, and He made us with human emotions. To surrender means to fully submit to Him, to live by His word. When I fall short, my only way is to turn to His word.
Okay. Got a puzzle piece, sorry.
You're fine.
All right, there we go. Worth healing and identity. How do you remind yourself daily that you are worthy of love, you're worthy, you're loved, and that you're blessed?
One of my favorite songs is by Lauren Daigle. It's called You Say. When I am feeling unworthy, when I am feeling like, nobody loves me, or I'm everybody's punching bag, I turn to that song and I sing it at the top of my lungs. And then I turn to His word and I read His promises over me. Um, and then I take I take a beat. Sometimes it can be 15 minutes. Sometimes I can be flat on my face for 2 hours. And I just sit in somber with God and I allow Him to remind me of who I am, not who I am here in this vessel and in this flesh, but who I am in Him.
So, what role does forgiveness for yourself or others play in your feelings now?
I'm very big on forgiveness, and it's not for others. I never forgive somebody who's harmed me or hurt me for them. I do it for me because I do know that at the end of the day, we all have a day of judgment that's going to come upon us, and we can't hold anybody else accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable. So when I forgive somebody, I'm quick for forgiveness, first and foremost. I cannot hold a grudge because holding grudges hurts me more than it hurts that person. It took me a long time to realize that. Um, but when I forgive somebody, it's for me. It's for my healing.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. Um, how do you keep yourself grounded when triggers or painful memories arise?
It depends on the trigger. It depends on the painful memory. Some are a little harder than others. The harder ones, sometimes I have my blow ups. I have a full blown ugly cry. I I scream. I yell. But other triggers, I have to remind myself you've overcome this. You've overcome this and you have a purpose. So no matter what the person who's trying to attack you or bring you down is trying to do to hurt you, you've overcome this, and you're not your past. You're not who you were. You are who you are today because you surrendered your life to a higher power. You take
Right.
authority out of your own hands and you placed it into someone else's hands that you should fully and wholeheartedly trust.
I couldn't agree more. What does being authentically yourself look like today?
just not caring what people think about me, not caring, if they like me or if they like my appearance or if they like the posts that I put on social media or if they even agree with everything I say because I don't agree with everything everybody else says.
Right.
To be authentically myself is to love like Christ. That is God's greatest command in us, is to love like Christ. And in order to love like Christ, you have to be compassionate and you have to be understanding and you have to, not be quick to anger. So authentically me is walking through him.
Okay. Amen. How do you stay connected to joy after years of surviving all the chaos?
Um, you know, That is a question that if you asked me that just a few weeks ago, I would not have been able to answer it for you. But not too long ago, I had a dream, and that speaks volumes because where I smoked good ganja for so long, I didn't dream. Or if I did, I did not remember my dream. And it
Right.
bothered me like so bad. People will talk about these crazy dreams they would have, and I'm like, even a trippy dream would be a good dream for me because I would want to see something instead of darkness. Um, but I had a dream not long ago, and when I woke up the next morning, it hit like a revelation hit me. Every day that he breathes life into me, he's breathing a purpose into me. He's breathing another opportunity to do better, to touch somebody, to reach somebody, to tell my story, to pull someone who's in that dark place you was once out of or
Yeah.
can out of, because if you can do it then anybody can. And that right there is it puts a joy in me every morning, no matter what I'm going through. Like I've been going through some stuff here recently. I've been being attacked left and right recently with finances and everything else. Um, but that still, I wake up with this joy inside of me that I cannot explain. I can't explain it. I'm just happy to be alive. I'm happy that he loves me so much that he's given me another opportunity.
Awesome. Legacy and one voice. If one person was listening today is struggling with addiction or trauma, what do you want to tell them?
If they are struggling with addiction, tell them to not give up the fight. It's not going to be easy. It never is. But great things don't come from easy comings. Great things come from struggles and battles and fighting and not throwing in that white towel, knowing your worth.
Yes.
Same thing for trauma.
For what?
Same thing for trauma, not just
Yeah.
addiction, but trauma as well.
Oh yeah. Um, do you think that sharing your story today has helped you, even if it's just the slightest?
Absolutely. This is the first time that I've been able to be on another person's platform and share my story. You can only share it so much on your own platform and your own viewers see it over and so to get, fresh people in to let them see that it doesn't matter where you come from. There's always another if God wakes you up, there's always another opportunity to do right, be better, and get it right.
Yes. What message would you want to give your daughter or and other daughters to take away from your journey?
Know your worth. Just know your worth. Know that you are loved and you are valued. And when you respect yourself and you let others see that you respect yourself, then others will respect you too.
Okay. And what does stay rare mean to you in the context of your life right now?
Be a diamond in the rough. Be something no one expects.
If your voice could echo one truth into the world forever, what would it be?
Your love.
Just your love?
Your love. If that was the last thing my voice echoed through this world for anybody and everybody, is your love. And my explanation for that is a long time. That's where I allowed the world to tell me who I was because I did not believe I was loved.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. That was the last question. So I want to thank everyone for listening to the powerful story of survival and redemption. To our guests, your courage to speak the truth is not only reclaims your voice, but gives others permission to reclaim theirs. To anyone listening, you are worthy, you are loved, and you matter. Healing is possible. If someone you know is struggling, please reach out to the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673. And then addictions and mental health is 1-800-662-4357. National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Remember to stay rare, stay true. One voice can change everything.